tired, but how are you doing? So in this video, I will talk about how there is persecution of some people and how terrible it is that we still have such things in the 21st century. So, as you all know and have heard about how the Jewish and the Christians have been persecuted throughout history, especially the Jewish people. So it's written in their holy books, the Torah, and also King David had mentioned about what they have experienced, and so why is it that we still have persecution in the 21st century? Well, the obvious reason is because many people have been taught, that they have negative emotions towards Jewish people from the start. Like they have been taught that the Jewish people, they are this or that. And they cannot change their perception because they don't even talk to Jewish people to know what they are like. Like basically, there's no communication. It's just what people have been taught, in schools and the environment, what it has taught them to hate on the Jews and persecute them. So they don't examine, just they follow it. So they don't talk to the actual Jewish people to question, well, do we feel correctly or not. So another thing is what I find, one reason why there is persecution is because there is no proper communication. There's no talk. So there's only, accusations are thrown around, this and that, and there is no respect. And when there is no respect, it means that, people won't talk to each other when there is no respect. So that's the saddening part, is it's just a vicious cycle that goes on and on. So I'm just saying, I don't know what we could do to stop the wars in the world and bring about peace. Because if the perception of people don't change, it's not going to change. There will be wars if the perception of people are not going to change. It's that simple how this will happen. So I'm sad that this is the case. We can't do anything. It's just indoctrinated in people's mind that they got to hate on Jews, and they should not talk to, most people don't examine their emotions. They have negative emotions about the Jewish, Israelites and Jewish people in general. So they don't talk to them. They don't even listen. So this way, there's not going to be any type of peace. If you don't listen to the other side, there's not going to be peace. Because both sides would need to see something else, where they have been doing wrong things, So, and when no side admits to doing wrong, then it's not going to be an outcome. If both sides claim that they are right, well, it cannot be the case. Only Only one side can be right, but both sides can have wrongdoings, like they do something wrong and there is more conflict or more tension as a result. But I'm just saying, when they don't talk to each other properly, it's not going to bring about a good result. So I'm afraid that peace in the Middle East is not going to come about because there's no respect. The Arab Palestinians, they don't respect the Jewish, Israelis, and vice versa. So it's the same story repeated over and over again. What can we, and why do we, the rest of the world, why we should be blamed for this? I'm concerned for these people, but I can't do anything. I mean, I'm just, in the distance. So I'm just saying, there is lack of communication between the sides and lack of respect, which makes it difficult to have peace. So yeah, it just feels futile. With humans, it's not possible. Just like Jesus said, it's not possible. It's impossible with humans. And I think he referred to making peace. And when arch enemies, facing each other, they won't listen to each other, they won't respect each other, so there's not going to be peace. And Jesus said, between humans, it's not possible. They can't make peace. And the same goes for the Ukraine war. Because Russia doesn't respect Ukrainians, that, Ukraine got, independence from, the Soviet Union broke up. And in 1991, Ukraine got independence, and it should be respected. But Russia doesn't want to respect that. No, they hold on to the distant past. Like, no, this is our territory. No, it's not. Just because there are more Russian people in the world, it doesn't mean that Ukrainians shouldn't be listened to. It's kind of a parallel to the Palestinian issue, because the Israelis, the Jews, are less in the world than the Arab Palestinians. It's the same case for the Ukraine war. There are more Russians in the world than Ukrainians. So it doesn't mean that just because there are more people saying one thing, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't necessarily make it right. So that's just my observations and feelings about this topic. Because sadly, the world nowadays thinks, oh, the more people say something, it must be right. No. It's just something repeated. Even if a lie is repeated over and over again by the majority of people, it doesn't make it, truth. It doesn't make it, that this is, true. No. Because there's an intention, for example, the Russians say, no, this is our territory, and yeah, there are more Russians who say this, but then Ukrainians can, say, but this is our land. So, but it doesn't mean that Ukrainians don't have, entitlement, just because there are less Ukrainians in the world. It's so wrong to believe that the majority of people are right, because the minorities are not respected in such case. And this is what makes me very sad, because I myself from a small country, and I'm a minority, but nobody listens to me, just because I'm one person versus the rest of the world. So I'm just saying, we should not discredit the Ukrainian people's voice just because there are more Russians in the world. So it's not fair to say, oh, the majority of people are right and the minorities are, are wrong. No, it's definitely not. It wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair if this was done this way. It's not fair. And my disappointment is that we don't realize the consequences of always just ignoring the minorities. I don't want to go into the Syria topic because, the Christians are a minority in Syria, and there are way less Christians, I think, than before. I mean, Christians had been a minority in Syria, but I think there are less Christians now in Syria than before. So why do we have to force on religion on others? That's my other question. Why do we have to force religion on to others? Why does everybody need to believe in the same thing? What's the point? So there are many things in the world that I don't consider fair, and I can't do anything to change this, but all I can say is that I really wish that the minorities will listen to and respect their voices. Their voices should matter. It's not only the majority of people who have a propaganda that we should just listen to that and buy that, believe that. No. That way that we do, unfairness on the minorities. And we should not allow that. Because I don't think God would appreciate that we ignore the minorities and just only listen to the popular, like majority voices. It's not fair. It's really not fair. I disagree with it. What can I do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing to help the Ukrainians or well, the Jewish people, because they are facing a lot of persecution and they receive all kinds of insults, and this is not fair. And I don't get paid for saying these things. I want to reiterate, I don't get paid for this, to say these things. No. But my consciousness says, my conscience says I should say this, because if I didn't say this, it would be unfair. If I didn't speak for them, for the Jewish people, then it would be, like missing from my part, like I wouldn't be fair. And sadly, the majority of people hate them so much that they won't even listen to them at all. Unfortunately, I don't have any Jewish friends, but I wish I had. I wish I could talk to them, and wish I could understand, their emotions, because due to persecutions throughout history, they have been exposed to a lot of pain. Yeah, I mean, one main, terrible event that they have faced was the Holocaust in the 20th century, but besides that, they have faced many other persecutions, not only the Holocaust. And even now they are targeted, in many places in Europe. Israeli tourists are not allowed into restaurants. They face discrimination, and well, it's because the hatred towards them has reached a significant level. And so what can you do about such hatred? Nothing. I mean, and I hate seeing hungry children, in Gaza or wherever in the world. I don't want to see hungry children, okay? Because that breaks a person's heart. I don't want to see any hungry children. And it's not my fault that some children in the world are hungry in many countries, in Sudan, in Ethiopia, and in the Middle East. So but in some of the cases, some parents they don't consider, well, the child deserves, a better future, like some parents don't consider, they give birth to children, many children, but they don't consider that how can they provide a good future. Sometimes some of those children, they are not fed, they they are malnourished, and this is horrible. I mean, it's a shame on its own, this news. But I mean, if some parents, just overlook their children, I mean, and the great needs of people, so many people need, you know provision and food, so many children. So there's a huge need, and it cannot, I mean, sadly, in many places this need cannot be met, and it's the fault of the governments and people who mismanage things. So, you know um, this is a horrible thing, but also the parents are responsible, because if they have many children and there's no way to provide for them, for the children, it's also somewhat a parent's responsibility too. And the poor child is suffering as a result. The child shouldn't suffer, but where is the parent who cares about the child to give a better future? Where is the parent? So in some cases, sadly, this happens. So I'm just saying, how can we stop this? And the world has great needs, so many people, so many children all across the world. So it just shouldn't, sadly, we forget about when there was a war in Yemen and Yemeni children were starving. So, but the world didn't care that much about the Yemeni children starving. So, there's a different coverage of the events. Not every piece of news gets the same attention, and I don't know why. There's an intention behind this. So I'm just saying, it's terrible and a shame for humanity that children are starving in this world, but it's also a parent's responsibility as well. But also, in some cases, the government and the people who mismanage, the deliveries of aid to people. It's horrible, things are mismanaged and children are suffering. Shameful, but what can we do from the distance? And also, we should not forget those other children, suffering. In Syria, there has been suffering during the uprising against Bashar al-Assad. There were sufferings in Syria too. Also in Yemen, there were children going hungry in Yemen as well. And also during the time when there was an uprising against Bashar al-Assad, there were people suffering in Syria too, and children hungry or malnourished as well. So many, many instances, and sadly, the world doesn't care the same way about each suffering. And the persecution of Jews and Christians have been throughout history. And why we shouldn't respect them, the previous religions, the main religions before. Why we shouldn't respect them too? Judaism and Christianity. Why do they come into oblivion? Why? Why does it have to be the case? So yeah, I'm just saying, nobody should force any religion on anyone else. I don't think it's right to force anyone anything. So thank you for listening, and if you want to think about my words, you can. If you want, I don't know. What do you think? Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.